All right. Welcome, everyone. I think we're live. All right. Okay. Welcome to Developer Office Hour. It is Friday. Happy Friday. And if you're here, say hi in the chat, and we'll get started. So we've got just a couple questions today. So we should have time for questions, just open-ended questions here. And hey, Funky Boy. Hey, Papa Chuck. And let me do the intro. If this is your first time watching this, or you're watching this from the future, this is Developer Office Hour. This is where I answer questions that come up on Discord and the forums, and I try to answer them here live with video recording so that we can try to answer these questions as fully as possible. And then all of these questions are recorded, and the source code is available in this repository. And you can see here all the previous ones. So you can come in here and look at any previous questions that came up. And an easy way to navigate through all these questions is this Omniverse FAQ, where I've put timestamped links to every single question that's been answered so that you can jump right to what you want to look at. If you're watching this session from the future, you can look at the description of this video to see the timestamps, and you can jump ahead to any question that seems interesting to you. And then lastly, if you haven't already, we've gotten a lot of submissions already for the Omniverse community, the Omniverse Insider program. If you haven't yet, definitely check it out. There's going to be a lot of cool early access and just reaching out from us to you all, and we want to know a little bit more about you so we can connect you with the right opportunities and as they come up. So it's a pretty simple form. You can fill out a bit, save it, come back later, fill in some more. So you can always come back and update. But yeah, let us know about yourselves, and that way we can better serve you in our community. So here we go. Did I link to this one? I didn't link to this one yet. Okay. So let's get started. Here's Omniverse. I think I'm going to do this in backwards order here because I have this set up already. First question is, how do I listen for changes to the children of a certain prim? Okay, so this one came up a couple of times, maybe this week or in the last 2 weeks. And it is a good question. So usually I would always say use USD Watcher. And I've done a video about that, or a Developer Office Hour question on that. And this is really great because it has a dispatcher for any updates. So you tell it, hey, I'm really interested in this property or this prim. Let me know when this prim or property changes, and then it'll call your callback and you just react to that. But what has come up recently is folks are asking, hey, actually, I want to know about all the children or descendants of a particular prim. So I have these prims that are grouped under a scope or under a transform, and I want to know when anything changes under there. And so you could use USD Watcher and then listen to, subscribe to everything in there, everything you're interested in. But that can be a little clunky. So the solution would be to go one step lower. And actually, this is actually the lowest step. There is one more way, which is using the we have a stage event subscription, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But the principles are the same. USD does have notices about when things change, and the difference here between with this one or the the stage event stream is that it's going to tell you about when anything changes. So it's on you to sort out through all of those notifications and only react to the ones that you care about. And it's also important for you to be conscious of, how often this is getting called, and try to exit as soon as possible from this function so you're not eating up compute time on each of these updates. So I think we are good to try this out. So I have here this scene built out, and it's got this lonely cone over here, and then I have a parent transform with a cube and a sphere. And so that's going to be our test bed here. I'm going to listen for any changes any descendant changes of parent. And I could nest this further and it would work just the same. So let's look at the code really quick, and then we'll try it out. So USD has this TF notice and you can register to it, and this is just straight from the Pixar TF module. And you tell it what type of notice you're interested in. We want to know when objects change, and objects could be prims or properties. And then this is the function that I want it to call. So here is my function. I get a notice object and also the stage. And from there, we're going to check two different functions here from the notice. This one, get changed info only paths, would tell you if any, whenever properties change on a prim. And then the resynced paths tells you about when a prim is added or deleted. And this can happen for a number of reasons, either just deletion like we do in Omniverse, or payload is unloaded. So there's different reasons why prims may show up or disappear. And so here in my simple example here, I'm just checking for this world parent, the one that I'm interested in and its descendants. I just add I'm just doing a simple string comparison. I add another / to basically say, is this update, does this have to do with a child of world parent, not world parent itself? And then I just print out to find out what changed. Also note, this is going to give you prim paths for, it's going to give you a list of prim paths of all the changes that happened on this callback. So multiple changes can come through at once, and so we have to loop through them all. Same thing with resynced path. So if I delete or add a prim, this is going to get called. It's going to tell me about all of the ones that were added or changed, and so I just want to filter out to descendants of world parent. So let's give this a shot. Let's make sure. I don't remember if I reset this. No, it's still firing. So let me revoke it. So revoke would be with the subscription that you've created here. We can revoke it. It's essentially like an unsubscribe. And so now nothing is printing out when I update these. And now we can come over here and we will run all of this. And if I move the cone, which is not a child of parent, you can see here I still get the change fired printout, because this callback is getting called for every single change. So that is happening. Same thing. And what am I doing here? I'm changing a property on this prim when I move it, right? I'm changing the translate X. And so that's firing. Additionally, if I delete it, it also fires. now. But when I interact with something that I do care about in my callback, you can see here now, I move the sphere, I get that change fired, but I also get the additional printouts that I added, which is something happened to a descendant of world parent, and it tells me exactly what changed, which was available to me. I could have printed the path for everything that changed, but here I'm only printing the path for those descendants. So here it tells me exactly what changed on that descendant. It's the direct child sphere, and this is the property that changed. And so then you can react accordingly. I could rotate and you can see, or rotate and you can see here that a different property changed. Same deal with this cube, which is also a child. Something happened, the cube was translated. And if I delete, you can see here I get the other printout, which is a descendant was added or removed, and it tells me the path of that. And then when I undo, it actually gets re-added. So I get that same callback, a child or descendant was added or removed, and I get the printout. So that's going to tell you, that's a starting point for whatever you might be trying to do. You'll have to adjust that logic to react to what you really want to do, right? Any questions about that? Oh, and lastly, revoke. I already showed this once, but just for good measure, hold on to that subscription, the listener, and then revoke it so that you don't call it anymore. Any questions about that? I see we've got some questions already, some other questions. So this can be used to do things with objects after they fall past a certain place. I think we have mechanisms for that that would be better. Yeah, so if you're only interested in one object, I would use the USD watcher potentially. We may have other logic in USD physics that would help with this. So the thing to be careful with this one is that it's going to get called a lot, and it's on you to make sure that you're being very conscious of the CPU time that you're taking up with whatever you're doing in that callback. So I would go the safer route and look at either USD watcher or something in physics. Maybe there's like a termination plane or something, where after a certain level, it stops calculating physics for a thing, or it kills it, a kill plane. Yeah, I don't know where that is, but it's kind of the concept that you're explaining is kind of like a kill plane. But yeah, if it's and this goes across the board, if you're interested in only certain objects and you have control over being able to subscribe to the ones that you're interested in an easy way, then I would go with USD Watcher or some other mechanism that only updates you when that one thing changes. This is very heavy-handed because it's not just going to give you updates on translation updates. It's going to give you updates on everything. So it wouldn't be a very efficient way to do a kill plane, probably. Any other questions? All right. Yeah, and in practical uses of this, don't put a bunch of prints in here. That was just a quick way to show you all what's going on, but yeah, like I said, be conscious of performance. Okay, let's do the next one. How do I rotate a prim using action graph? Okay, so this one has come up a bit recently as well. Our documentation needs a little bit of an update, but I thought I would help out with a quick recording here for this one. So let me come over here. We could do a new stage. And we'll do the quintessential cube. And we'll add an action graph. And edit the action graph. And we're going to, this will be a good case here. We're going to read, and it's going to come in with an error. This bug will be fixed in the next release, but I did this intentionally to show how to work through this as well, because it is an interesting learning moment in action graph. So this thing is shows an error. Input's name is empty, right? So well, I know what input I care about. I want to update. I want to read from rotate XYZ. I'm going to rotate this on the Y axis. And well, I've already updated that. The input's updated, but this still shows an error. And the reason for this is that this will not clear its error state until it tries to execute again. So if I press play, right, that would be a logical step. Is oh well, I'll press play and it'll execute. Actually, no, this won't execute until it has some trigger to execute it. So then you would think on tick, and this is where it gets tricky. The way to update this to get it to trigger would be you need to have an execution connection, and then this, because this one doesn't have a connection to execute it, it has to be connected to something that will then execute it. And actually this might work. So what it's going to do is this is going to fire when I press play, and then it's going to trigger this one, and this one needs this value, so it's going to backtrack and finally trigger this one so that it can calculate the value to set it. We should set this to rotate XYZ, and this won't do anything, but it'll clear that error state, right? Because all it's doing is it's reading the current XYZ from the properties, reading the current XYZ, and then writing it back out. So now our job is to tell it how we want to update that. So we can come over here and what do I want to do? I want to do, let's create, okay, yeah, let's do it this way. This is going to come out as a double, I think. Pretty sure. The way that I can check this is I hover over rotate. It tells me that it's a double 3. So I want to break the vector 3, the 3 vector. So I take that vector, and now I've got an XYZ, separate components. And then I only care about Y, so I will then add to it. And I'm going to add some constant value. This is actually probably the longer way to do this, but this is how the original tutorial did it. So let's do it. I think you learn a lot of different things about this. Then we can recompose the matrix, the vector. So we plug that right back into Y, but we do want to maintain the X and Y values that it originally had. So we'll plug those in. Is there a cleaner way to lay this out? Maybe not. And then we can throw that into there. So what is this constant double? I'm going to set that to, this is degrees, so every update will do 10 degrees. Okay, so we play it, and it's spinning. And this is a good approach because it works for anything. This is applying its local, this is applying a rotation on its local axis. So so you could potentially have this grouped under something else and rotate it, and it's always going to rotate about that axis. Right, so your object could be just about anything. You could always hard code it to Y and just make sure that your Y is pointing in the right direction. So so I think that's a good approach. And then the other little bit that I would add to this is just a variable to be able to control the speed. So we're going to create a new variable. We'll call it speed. And we said that this is a double. And the default value, 10 was a bit much, so let's do half of that. And now we can read. We don't need this constant anymore. And we'll read it from there. This all gets automatically filled out because I dragged it in from here. You could also create a variable node. I guess you can't create a variable node from there, but you can get it from here. And so now I run it. Nope, what did I miss? What did I miss? Didn't press stop. I didn't get an error, did I? That's the way back there, original error. Interesting. Nah, it's totally busted. What did I do? It's interesting. One thing that was interesting is that when I grouped this, it still worked. I didn't realize that the path changed. I wonder if that's it. I'm gonna redrag this in just in case. That was weird. Nope. What is the value here? It says 0. Ready now, rotate XYZ. This is calling on simulation. This one didn't update, did I? I didn't set the rotate XYZ here. The output's working. So now we got a lesson in debugging. So it's outputting this crazy value. Still crazy value. Crazy value plus 5. And crazy value. But then it doesn't write out. No, and then it writes it out. but I'm not getting the update here. Weird. All right, I might have to come back to this. I feel like if I save this and then reopen it, it's gonna be fine. Yeah, I'm not entirely sold on visual scripting yet. It's cool. I think it's more accessible for some folks. But like if you don't have the programming background, but um, as a programmer, I wouldn't want to make the change fully. I'm looking for rotate cube, right? But that's just my personal preference. There we go. Yeah, weird. We're good. I got into some weird state there. So this is updating, and we just need to plug this in. Still rotates at 5, and then I can come over here to the action graph and change this to 20. Nope. There we go. So yeah. Cool. No, and it's not about whether it's real coding or not. I think this is super powerful. And in Omniverse, I'm using it because it is powerful. It's faster than Python. But there's tooling that I haven't seen good tooling around this for, say, debugging, and not just, I'm not talking about Omniverse, but in just visual scripting in general. Tooling for debugging or diffing, and so if you're working on a production tool and you need to get a code review from somebody, I don't think that this is as easy to compare the changes in than just text code. But that could just be me. I maybe I haven't seen that yet, and it's out there. But yeah. Can you open this code in VS? No. That's an interesting point, Eric. Yeah, I would have to look at. I'm guessing that that those microservices are all hooked up with nodes. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, I just maybe I haven't had it, and like this is all maturing. I think visual scripting is not new, but I think as we're democratizing coding, it's become a lot more popular. Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. We are in open questions, so I know there were some already in here. Let me make sure I save this. And what is the best way to dock an extension in 2023? I like this. This is where Omniverse is getting old enough that we can have best of the newest way and best way to do it in 2023. Yeah, so when I did the docking video, I gave a few options for that, and you're right that the dock in window is uh, is being deprecated, but the other ones are still valid. So either of the other two options, I think there's three. So this is October 28th. So I can come back over here and look at the code for October 28th, 1028. And I think that's a script here. Docking. So don't use dock in window, even though I really liked that one. You can do it by titles. So dock window in and dock window in window, you give it a title and a title. Or if you need to, the deferred docking is still available. So I would go with window and window. You can get the titles from the, you don't need to hard code these. You can get these from the window object, so that's reliable. And if you need to do the deferred, then switch over to deferred. Is that sufficient? Do you want me to do an example? Yeah, Eric, I see your question. Just want to make sure we're good on this one before I move on. Sweet. All right, thanks, Funky Boy. Eric, that's a great question. The history is NVIDIA USD is USD. We're not branching from it or not intending to. Early on, as we were building the all the real time functionality and some, I think there were also some requirements for our renderers. We started to make changes to USD and we didn't contribute those back necessarily. So we did branch off for a little bit. But now what we've done is we've taken, and this is all work in progress, but the goal is we are taking out that functionality that we added to USD and making it its own solution that works in conjunction with USD. And then anything that we are able to contribute back, we are contributing back to mainline USD, and so our goal is to we want to get back on vanilla USD, and for the most part, using if you're using the API, you're not going to notice a difference. Where you will see differences is if you have two apps that are trying to talk USD to each other. So yeah, you can author things in Omniverse USD. It'll be valid USD in another app, but you won't get the same functionality, right? So we are ahead and trying new schemas in. So this is the other part of your question is the, I guess, the enrichment, and that comes in the form of schemas. We've added a number of schemas because we're not using USD necessarily as just an interchange format and only writing out the things that are common to everybody, but we USD is a core data model for our app. So USD currently doesn't have animation curves, so we want to start, we want to have animation curves in our app. So so we've added a schema to to support that. So when I where's my timeline? When I set a key here, it adds animation data prim type, and that holds my animation data. You can see here that there's a bunch of properties to store those keyframes instead of just time samples. So we have that. We have physics is we've contributed that back. What else? MDL is just using straight up vanilla USD, so that's great. We have our sequencer is pretty has some schemas too, and you I guess an easier way to find these things is if you just search schema, you find the extension schemas that we've added here. So we're working on a geospatial schema. We've got the Omni scripting schema, so you can attach Python scripts to a prim, and there's the sequencer schema. So yeah, we're kind of we're trying things out. We're developing schemas for the things that we think are needed, for us, for our customers, and because our customers are span various industries, not just animation and film. We may develop schemas that may never make it into mainline USD, depending on how that grows. But there may be another open source repo where you can get folks, the group that are interested in these industry specific schemas can share and collaborate on. That's all just speculation. I don't know where that's going to go, but for now, yes, we have because of the needs of our needs and the needs of our customers, we are developing schemas. So if you try to use these in another package, these schemas in another package, the data is going to flow through. You can manipulate an Omniverse scene that has Omni scripting in Maya and then write it back out, and the Omni scripting would still stick around, but you've got all the new stuff that you might have done in Maya. And then it becomes a question of which DCCs, the rest of the DCCs, deciding which ones should be part of the mainline USD, and them adopting it because it's core to it, or adding it because they also think it's useful. So does that help? That's oh, and OmniGraph, that's a big one, right? All of this is custom. But yeah, so I think we'll see how this evolves. We're very interested in collaborating and working with the USD community to develop the best solutions for these things together. So Houdini seems to have the best parity in their core. Yeah, Houdini, I don't remember who started first, but Houdini was definitely one of the first ones, and their commitment to Solaris and authoring USD natively was a really good move early on. I think we have pretty good of the core schemas. I think we have full support. We may be ahead on. I'm guessing we're still ahead on USD physics. I don't know how Houdini's doing on that adoption. But yeah, I think it's a very exciting time right now, and it'll be exciting to watch the evolution and how these schemas evolve and are adopted and improved to serve everyone's needs. Great question. Anything else? All right, while y'all are thinking, I just remembered I was going to show the stage event stream. I don't know if it's going to be in this one or in OmniUSD. So we do have one layer between USD Watcher and TF notice, which would be get stage I think I'll have to do another video, but we have a stage event. I think it's in USD context, actually. There's USD context has a get stage event stream, and this works just like the I event Carbonite streams. You can create subscription. I think that's what the function is called. Create subscription to pop or to push, and then you give it an event type that you're interested in. So you can use that for file open, closed, selection changes, and also no, I guess this one, I guess I showed you the right steps. This one doesn't show you object changes, so ignore everything else I said. I think one of maybe dirty state changed, but yeah, I think what I provided is probably a better approach. Anything else? Yes. So yes, the USD rabbit hole always gets bigger. There's no escaping that. But I think that's a good thing. It is super flexible, and I'm just blown away by new things that I learn every day about it. So we're gonna do the text logo is what Funky Boy is asking for. Okay, so this was a cool little thing here. Somebody was asking about transparency in textures, so I'm going to create a Omni PBR is a good one. Throw it on this plane. And there is down here opacity. So I want to plug in USD. Where is that texture? And cool. So I plugged this into opacity map. I should put some color on here. Let's do green. All right, so we know the material's working. And then I have the opacity map. I've plugged that in. I want to enable opacity. I also want to enable opacity texture, which tells it how to look up opacity on the supplied texture. So in my case, it's a PNG, so it has an alpha channel. So I'm going to use the mono alpha, but there's other approaches for this. And so that went ahead and, oh, we're talking about, so I'll do this one here, and then I'll talk about what I did the other day. And so now we get this transparency in our material, which works really well because it also accounts for the transparency in when it's casting shadows and things like that. So for you know, if you didn't know, it's like you'd think I modeled, it's geometry that I modeled those shapes. But what somebody was asking for specifically was they wanted partial transparency. So I just need to double check to see what texture I used that day. That one doesn't have partial. All right, test USD logo is the one that I used. Okay, so I go to T. There it is. And so this one has partial transparency on those other bits of the USD logo. And here, by default, it's just going to treat it either as binary on or off. And you could use the opacity threshold to kind of say, okay, where's the threshold for what should be on and what should be off. But if you want partial transparency, you could use the interactive path tracing. Oops, change it here. And that by default supports partial transparency. Or if you're in real time, there is a setting here under ray tracing for under translucency, enable fractional cutout opacity, and that'll do it too, and you get that nice fast real-time response. You can see here that even the shadows are casting partial transparency, so they're partially occluding the light. So pretty cool. I should scale this so that it's not totally skewed. That's close. So I think this is really cool. And then I can come over here and not use a hard-coded color here, but plug in an albedo map and use that same test one. There we go. Beautiful. And then of course you gotta grab this light and grab this light and then give it a nice turn here so that you get more interesting shadows. So yeah, you can do your Photoshop work in here. Yeah, Papa check volumetric lighting and subsurface scattering would take this to a whole nother level. I don't know if I want to go that route today. And interactive is just much crisper. It will take some time to resolve that, but it's cool. It's a good thing you guys don't ask me rendering and lighting questions very often, because I'd be doing this all day, just messing around, not getting any work done. So there's your Photoshop. No, not a good way to manipulate this light. There's your Photoshop drop shadow. I should do top view. Let's look at that. So Data Juggler has been messing around with the 3D text tool. I haven't used it yet. I am curious about it. Let's see if we can talk through this together. It's not, is it only in create? Is that what I need to do? Just a moment. Just trying to brighten up the shadows. All right, while we were waiting for create to launch. So I'm gonna go ahead and close code. Got create and text. Nope, text. This one, 3D text. So cool. All right. Is there a menu for this? Or maybe it's just create 3D text. Create text. Look at that. And then and then it's going to be an action graph, right? So where is it getting the text from? I would have expected some property that I can manipulate here. There's all the prototypes for all the letters and numbers. Interesting. I always love to see how the developers went about doing these things. So they're using a point instance there for the text, and then a bunch of prototypes. That's a lot of prototypes. And here's the text. Cool. So where am I? So, okay, so you have to go all the way into the action graph. There's a 3D text node. So let's look at that action graph. This is really cool, Data Juggler. Thanks for asking this question. I think this is pretty fun. So I'm going to open up the action graph and edit this one. And so we have on tick. It's just gonna, looks like it's just generating it all the time, so it doesn't even matter if I'm on play or not. And we can choose alignment, we can choose our text, and we can say hello world. And cool. Scale it. No. Character spacing is more what I care about. Ugh. Okay. So this would probably do much better with a monospaced font. And then we can scale it. Hello world. Center it on the point instancer. And right or left, right? And that's really it. I would throw some variables on this. I'm just gonna take some notes for the dev team. shouldn't have to go into this action graph to actually edit this. I think it'd be nice if it was maybe on the top on this transform node or something, or at the very least some variables on this action graph, because I don't see them. And so data juggler, what is there a depth? Yeah, so that's what I thought you were gonna ask about. Can you extrude this? I don't see a way to do that unless, what are these? So these are meshes, and what happens? Let's grab H, capital H. No, these look like they're planes, so do we have like an extrude? Nope. So yeah, I think I'm out of ideas there. I don't think that functionality exists. I think that's some great feedback. Custom fonts, I didn't see any way to. It doesn't seem like you could give your own fonts, right? Because these are just hard-coded meshes. Let's take a look at the preferences just in case there's something in there. And let's look at the, I don't see anything in there that would clue me into that, but we can also look at the toml to see if it's using any settings, which it doesn't. So it's an early release, and so I'm sure there's more work to be done here. So font and extrude. Yeah, play with font lets you do that, right? There's docs for this. No, that's just auto-generated docs. Cool. Commands, what commands do we have? Just so you can programmatically create this. So that's a nice step in the right direction. And that's about it there. And there's also just public API. So if you don't want to use a command, you can do it this way. So that's fun. So this is I'm not sure why you would use a public API. It's using the command under the hood. But this is very promising. I like the design of this. So look forward to, I think, more updates. We can look at play with font. I should install. I even saw a very early community extension where somebody was calling Blender under the hood to generate the text. You would give it a path to your Blender installation, and then it would generate it and bring it in. So enable it. This one's taking a while. I wonder, it's probably doing like pip installations for stuff. if this is because of pip, this is like the reason why we don't recommend doing pip installations on to not pull from PyPy. Looks cool though. Yeah, you can give it input text, font extrude, does everything you need, everything you want. So so the current recommendation for including other Python packages is that you would either you would include your packages as vendor packages. Let me see. I think we have a good example over here. GitHub, NVIDIA Omniverse, and what is your name? Let me pull this off over here. What is the one that controls action graph with touch designer? I'm blanking on what you call that. OSE. There it is, Kit OSE. Okay. This one has a vendor folder, and then they have a wheel for the what they need. And so this is the and if there's if you have, you may need a different wheel per operating system if this is going to be cross-platform. And then in the config, you give pip API the archives the vendor directory, and that way it knows where to look for wheels. And so this way we avoid hitting PyPy for your requirements. And one, it makes it available offline, or in case some end user isn't allowed to download from PyPy. And then the other thing is it is faster because you're not waiting for those downloads, which can take a while. So, and it'll block the UI. So this one finally came through. I should find out why that was so slow. Yeah, cool. I'm glad that. Let me know if you have any follow-up question, Josh. Hopefully that covered it. So it has a limited set of fonts, but I'm sure you could extend that. This all looks fine. So we do support pip install from PyPy. So like it is supported. It is not recommended. So if you go to docs.nvidia.com, Kit, search API, and pip API. Yeah, it is UI blocking. So we do have that request to not block the UI. I don't know what the plan is there, but I have brought that up. So in case you don't know, in your either through the pip install, I think by default pip install the function, the pip API install will use online index as true by default. So if you use that method, and it'll pull from PyPy. Or if you're using the config, the default, or at least if you copy paste this, it'll make this false. So you just need to set this to true to use online index if you're doing it from the config. And don't use archives dir. You don't need that. And you can also have an internal PyPy repo, which is cool. So all this is a very light wrapper around pip install. So yeah, I think I don't think it would be easy to not block the UI with the current architecture is from what I understand, since Python is our UI thread, and you need to use Python to do the pip install. It would block, but I don't know. Cool. What was I looking for? Yeah, we were trying this out. So it ran and it looks amazing. Look at that. It did the extrusion. And let's look at the data. It's always, like I said, it's fun to see what people did. And this one looks like it takes a more of a generative approach of potentially creating curves and creating the mesh dynamically. And let's see what they did. I should end the stream at some point, but you guys aren't leaving, so I'm continuing. Font create. So they used free type. And it looks like that's got bits for creating faces and meshes. And once you have that mesh, oh look, and then they save it as an OBJ. And then do they just so add character. I'm trying to see where this gets into USD. So it looks like it's creating OBJs, and then at some point they must be referencing or importing the OBJ to create the final mesh. Yeah, so it's going to be probably one OBJ for the whole text, and then they must do an import of the OBJ because I didn't see any reference to. Oh, this is a reference. So what is this referencing? Yep, it's referencing the OBJ directly. So yeah, they wrote out OBJ, created a reference to the OBJ, and that's it. Very cool. I like it. So lots of clever developers in our community. Always fun to see what folks are doing. Well, I think we're definitely over time. Thank you so much for all the great questions and for the participation. And next week we will continue with simulating humans in the code with me, and we'll see you next week. I hope you have a great weekend, and thanks for coming. See ya.